Very good afternoon, learners. Welcome to today's session. And today we are going to discuss EBIT and EPS analysis. I am Dr. Neha Seth, working as an associate professor with School of Management Studies, Indira Gandhi National Open University. And we are continuing the syllabus of the subject called financial management. And the topic for today's discussion will be EBIT and EPS analysis. So let us start our discussion with this concept of EBIT and EPS analysis. So starting with the meaning of EBIT-EPS analysis. So what do we understand by this term when these two terms EBIT and EPS are coming together? So when I say this EBIT and EPS analysis, by this particular term I mean that it is analysis of the effect of different patterns of financing. That means different capital structure we are analyzing here on the level of returns available. And what are returns? These are EBITs, which are available to shareholders under different assumptions of EBIT. And this is known as our EBIT-EPS analysis. That means how EBIT is reacting, how EPS is reacting to EBIT. When EBIT is changing, earning before interest and taxes are changing, how EPS, earning per share, is reacting according to EBIT. So when we are analyzing this situation, analyzing this particular situation under different financial or capital structure, this analysis is known as EBIT and EPS analysis. Now there may be two cases when we are doing EBIT and EPS analysis. Case one, when we have our EBIT as constant and the financial patterns are changing. That means the EBIT will remain constant under different financing patterns, under different capital structure. And then we have one more situation when our EBIT is also changing with the change in financial patterns. So we are going to analyze this with the help of some numbers, with the help of numerical examples, for having better understanding that how and why this EBIT-EPS analysis is done. So let us understand this with the help of this numerical example where I have taken this as situation 1. So this is the first situation when we have constant EBIT. That means our EBIT is constant. That is, in this case, we are considering EBIT as 30% of capital. So whatever our capital amount is there, we are considering our EBIT to be 30% of that. There are 4 different type of capital structures that we are considering here. These are 4 options: case 1, case 2, case 3 and case 4. So case 1 is a situation where the total capital is raised through equity only. That means there is only one source of capital, that is equity, and the total funds that are utilized by this company is raised through equity shares, that is rupees 5 lakh. Case 2, when we are raising the funds from 2 different sources, that is equity share capital and preference share capital. So here 2,50,000 is raised through equity share capital and 2,50,000 is raised through preference share capital. So 50% is raised from each of them. Then we have third case, or I can say the third financing pattern or the third capital structure that we have, wherein the 50% amount is raised from equity share capital, 25% from preference share capital and 25% from debt. So overall we have total funds as rupees 5 lakh. And then we have fourth financing pattern here where 25% is raised through equity, that is 1,25,000, 25% from preference share capital, and in this case 50% is raised through debt, that is 2,50,000. So in all the 4 cases we have total funds that are raised from different sources is rupees 5 lakh. Okay, and since we have EBIT is as 30% of capital, so our capital is 5 lakh. So in each of the case, 30% of 5 lakh will be our EBIT, that is rupees 1,50,000 in each case. Now let us see that how the EBIT is reacting to different financing patterns. So in this case, we are taking EBIT as 1,50,000, that is 30% of our capital, out of which we have to deduct interest. But in first 2 cases, since we don't have capital from debt, there is no need to deduct interest since we are not having interest in this case. In third case, we are raising 25% capital, that is 1,25,000 from debt. So, and we are raising debt at the rate of 10%. So 10% amount of 1,25,000 will be deducted as interest here. Then in fourth case, 50% of funding is done through debt. So 10% of 2,50,000 will be deducted as interest. So in this case, we have profit before tax as 1,50,000 in case 1, 1,50,000 in case 2, 1,37,500 in case 3 and 1,25,000 in case 4. Then after this, we need to deduct tax, which is taken as 50% in this case. So 50% of profit before tax, we will deduct as tax here. So in first case, it is 75,000. In second case also 50% of 1,50,000, that is 75,000. In third case, it is 50% of 1,37,500. So it will come as 68,750 rupees. In fourth case, again 50% of 1,25,000. So it is coming as 62,500 rupees. Now after deducting tax from PBT, we get PAT, that is profit after tax, which is 50% of PBT, because we already deducted 50% tax in this case. So this is the amount that is available as profit after tax. Now what we need to deduct after this? We need to deduct preference dividend from this profit after tax, which is available to us. So in first case, again, we don't have any funding through preference shares, so there will be no preference dividend in this case. In second case, since the preference dividend is 15% of the amount at which we are raising the funds, okay, so it will come as 30,000 in this case. In third case, it is 15,000. Again, since we are raising 25% from preference shares in case 4 as well, so the preference dividend is again 15,000 in this case. From profit after tax, we need to deduct preference dividend, and whatever amount here we are going to receive will be the profit that is available for our equity shareholders. So in this case, for case 1, we have 75,000 which is available as profit for our equity shareholders. In second case, it is 45,000. In third case, it is 53,750 rupees. In fourth case, it is 47,500 rupees. And in all the cases, like in case 1, we have 5 lakh as equity share capitals and the price of the share is rupees 100. So number of shares can be calculated by dividing the share capital with the price of per share. So in case 1, it is 5,000. In case 2, it is 2,500. In case 3, again, it is 2,500 because 50% amount is raised through equity share capital. And in case 4, it is 1,250 because 1,25,000 was raised through equity divided by 100 because each share's cost is rupees 100. So this way we can calculate number of shares. And how we can calculate EPS? EPS can be calculated by dividing profit that is available for equity shareholders. We need to divide this profit by number of equity shares we are having in the company. So in first case, our number of shares are 5,000. Our profit is 75,000. So 75,000 divided by 5,000. In this case, our EPS is rupees 15. Similarly, in case 2, our EPS is rupees 18. In third case, our EPS is 21.5 rupees. And in fourth case, our EPS is 38 rupees. So this is how we can calculate EPS under different circumstances, under different financing pattern. And we can again see and we can conclude from this that EPS is increasing. You can see that the amount of EPS is increasing as and when the proportion of debt is increasing in our capital structure. Okay. Then we may consider one more case. So this was the case when our EPS was fixed and it was 30%. So there is one more situation when again our EPS can be fixed, but in this case our EPS is 18% instead of 13%. So it will be 18% of the capital amount. So our total funds were rupees 5 lakh. So 18% of 5 lakh will be our EBIT in this case. So it will be 18% of rupees 5 lakh, which is our total fund. So it is EBIT is going to be 90,000 in all the 4 cases. Again, we have to follow absolutely same steps. So very first, we need to deduct interest. So again, in first 2 cases, we don't have interest. In third case, we have 25% proportion, which is coming from debentures. So we have to deduct 12,500 in the form of interest and 25,000 here in case 4. After deducting the interest amount, what we will get? We will get profit before tax. Okay, and the profit before tax will be again 90,000 in case 1, 90,000 in case 2, 77,500 in case 3 and 65,000 in case 4. So this is what we get as profit before tax. Now this is profit before tax. What is the next step? We have to deduct tax from this, which is 50% in our case. So in next row, we need to put tax, which is 50%, 50% of profit before tax. After deducting tax, which is 50% in our case, we will get profit after tax. Okay, which is again 50% of profit before tax, because 50% amount is deducted in the form of tax here. So our profit after tax in case 1 will be 45,000. In case 2, again it will be 45,000. In case 3, it will be 38,750 rupees. And in case 4, it is going to be 32,500 rupees. Okay, now we have profit after tax. But what we have to deduct from profit after tax to calculate the profit which is available for equity shareholders? We have to deduct preference dividend. So since in case 1, we don't have any funding from preference dividend, there will preference shares, so there will be no preference dividend in case 1. In case 2, we have 30,000 as preference dividend. In case 3, we have 15,000 as preference dividend. And similarly, in case 4 also, we have 15,000 as preference dividend. After deducting preference dividend from profit after tax, we will get profit for equity shareholders. So in this case, we have 45,000 available for preference shareholders, 15,000 in this case, 23,750 in this case, and 17,500 in case 4. Again, we can calculate number of equity shares by dividing share capital with price of the share, which is rupees 100 in our case. So 5,000, 2,500, 2,500 and 1,250 are the number of shares under different circumstances. Now what we have to do to calculate EPS? We need to divide profit which is available for equity shareholders with number of equity shares under different financing patterns. So in case 1, our EPS will be 9, because in this case we are dividing 45,000 with 9,000. So in case 1, our EPS is rupees 9. In case 2, our EPS is rupees 6. In case 3, our EPS is 9.5. And in case 4, our EPS is 14. Again, in this case also we can see that after second case only, we can see that when we are increasing the proportion of debt in our capital financing, the EPS is increasing, but it is not so for when we are shifting from case 1 to case 2. Okay, so this is how the change in EBIT, the change in percentage of EBIT is impacting the earnings which are available for our equity shareholders. Okay. So this was case 1 when our EBIT was constant. So let us see one more situation when our EBIT is also changing with the type of firm or maybe economic situation. So let us understand with the help of this example here. So in this case, we have 3 different firms. Okay. Firm A Limited, which is again an all equity firm. So all the funding is done through equity shares. Then we have firm B, 50% from equity and 50% from debt. Then we have firm C, in which 25% is raised from equity and 75% is raised from debt. In all the 3 cases, the total funding that we have is rupees 2 lakh. In this case, ROI is expected to be 8%, okay, which may fluctuate by 3% on either side depending upon economic conditions. So if economic condition is good, so this 8% will increase to 11% because it is fluctuating by 3%. So when economic conditions are positive, our ROI will increase to 11%. But if our economic situation is not favorable, in this case, our ROI will become 5% because it is fluctuating by 3% on either side. So we can summarize this particular situation in this form. So in case we have bad conditions, so our ROI is 5%, our total capital will remain 2 lakh and 5% of 2 lakh, that means our EBIT is 10%. When our condition is normal, our ROI is 8%, again total capital is 2 lakh and EBIT is from these 2 variables, that is 16,000. And if our condition is good, in this case our ROI is 11%, our capital is rupees 2 lakh, and by using these 2 variables we can calculate our EBIT, which is 22,000 in this case. Okay. Now let us analyze. Now basically what we have here, we have firm A, and firm A has these three situations. Then we have firm B. Okay, firm A is all equity firm. This is equity and debt firm. And then we have firm C, again equity and debt, but the proportion is different. Firm B will again have three situations. Then firm 3 again will have three situations. So we are going to analyze all the three firms under three different situations. So let us see the case of firm A first, which is a no financial leverage or no debt firm. That means it is an all equity firm. EBIT is 10,000 in bad situation, 16,000 in normal situation, 22,000 in very good situation. Interest is 0 because it is an all equity firm. So PBIT will be equal to EBIT only. Tax, which is again considered as 50%, and after deducting tax, we will get profit after tax. Okay. Since in this case, we don't have preference dividend, so we are not going to deduct preference dividend from this. And number of shares, again, it is an all equity firm and cost of each share is rupees 100. So in each case, we have 2,000 equity shares. Now we need to divide profit after tax by number of shares, and by dividing this, we will get our EPS. So it is 2.5 in case 1, 4 in case 2, and 5.5 in case 3. That means when the economic situations are good. Then we can see the situation of company B Limited, which is a 50% financial leverage term. That means 50% amount is raised from debt. The EBIT will remain same, 10,000 in bad situation, 16,000 in normal situation, and 22,000 in good situation. Again, in this case, we have interest. So we need to deduct interest in this case. So 6,000 will be deducted in the form of interest. Remaining amount we have here is our profit before tax. Again, we need to deduct 50% tax from this, and the remaining amount that we will have will be our profit after tax. What we need to do again, we need to divide profit after tax by number of shares that are available. So in this case, only 50% funding is done through equity share. That means 1 lakh rupees are raised through equity shares, and cost of each equity share is rupees 100 in this case. So how many number of shares we have in each of these three situations? That is 1,000 rupees. What we need to do, we need to divide profit after tax by number of shares in order to get EPS. So EPS here in bad situation will be rupees 2. It will be rupees 5 in good in normal situation, and rupees 8 in good situation. Okay. Similarly, we can see the case of C Limited here, which is a 75% financially leveraged firm, and 75% amount is raised through debt and 25% amount is raised through equity. In this case also, the EBIT amount will remain same, that is 10,000 in bad scenario, 16,000 in normal scenario, and 22,000 in good scenario. Again, we need to deduct interest, which is 9,000 in this case, because 75% amount is raised through debt. After deducting interest, we will get profit before tax. We need to deduct tax, that is 50%, and the remaining amount will be our profit after tax. The number of shares here are 500, because in this case only 50,000 is raised through equity shares, and each equity share cost is rupees 100. So in all the three cases, on all the three scenarios, we have 500 as number of equity shares. We need to calculate EPS, which can be calculated by dividing profit after tax, and we have to divide this with number of shares we have. So in this case, when the situation is bad for C Limited, our EPS is rupees 1. When situation is normal, our EPS is rupees 7, and when our situation is good, our EPS will be rupees 13. So we have seen three different companies with different financing patterns. And we have also seen when the economic situations are changing, when the economic situation is bad, when it is normal, when it is good, how EPS is reacting to that. Okay, so in case 1, we can say there is approximately 37.5% change on either side when our EPS is fluctuating. In case B, in the case of B Limited, our EPS is fluctuating by say 40%. In both the cases, which will impact around 60%. So there is a minor change in EPS, which is in EBIT, which is impacting as 60% in case B for this company B Limited. In third case, when our EPS is changing from 7 to 1 or from 7 to 13, there is fluctuation of 85.7% on either side. Okay, so this is how the financing pattern, the capital structure is impacting any firm with different financing patterns. So we have seen the concept, we have seen the application of this concept under 3 different scenarios and for 3 different capital structures in this case. So this may further be changed. Now what if our ROI is 6%? That means our cost of debt is 6%. Again, our EBIT will say, for example, remain 12,000. Interest that we need to deduct is no amount because it is an all equity firm. 6,000 in case 2 because it is a 50% debt firm and 75% debt firm in case C. PBT will be 12,000, 6,000 and 3,000. Again 50% tax we have to deduct and we will get profit after tax, that is 6,000, 3,000 and 1,500 in all the 3 cases. Number of shares we already calculated, that is 2,000 in case 1, 1,000 in case 2 and 500 in case 3. And you can see that EPS is same in all the 3 scenarios, that is rupees 3. So in this situation, what we can conclude, we can say that financial leverage has no magnifying effect on EPS in this case. So whatever the financing pattern we are using, whatever our capital structure is, it is not going to impact the EBIT, it is not going to impact the EPS when our ROI, when our cost of debt is 6%. Okay. From this we can move to another concept or another term I can better say here, that is the concept of financial break-even level. So by break-even level we can understand that this is the situation when we are not earning much profits and at the same time we are not even suffering losses. That means there is no profit and no loss situation, that we can call it as break-even level. So similarly in case of finance, financial break-even situation is when the firm's EBIT level is sufficient to cover financial charges only. So what do we understand by this term called financial charges? Financial charges means the interest amount. So that means we are earning only that much amount which is sufficient to pay the interest in our case. So when we are in such a situation, that is known as financial break-even point or financial break-even level. So in case B here in our example, our financial break-even was 6,000. In case B, in case of firm C, our financial break-even was rupees 9,000. Okay, and from this what we can also conclude that if the firm is only debt firm, that means there is no equity firm. So in that case our financial break-even EBIT will be only our interest charge because we are earning only that much amount that is sufficient to pay our interest income. But when the firm has debt as well as preference capital, so in this case our financial break-even will be equal to interest charges plus preference dividend, and it has to be deducted, it has to be reduced by the tax amount, that is 1 minus T. Okay, so let us quickly try and understand the concept with the help of one example. Okay, there are different situations. So this is the case 1 where we are raising funds from equity share capital of rupees 10 lakh and debentures, and there is case 2, or I can say one more situation where the amount can be raised 5 lakh in the form of debt and 5 lakh in the form of equity. So how we can equate this? We can equate this by putting left hand side as this case 1 where only equity is there. So EBIT minus tax amount divided by 10,000. Okay, because in this case the equity shares will be 10,000. In this case EBIT minus 75,000. 75,000 is the interest amount. Interest amount, how we calculated this interest amount? It is 15% of this 5 lakh rupees. Again we have to reduce the tax amount from this and we have to divide by 5,000 which is number of equity shares in case 2. So we just need to equate this equation, we just need to do the calculation so that our missing variable, which is EBIT in this case, we need to calculate EBIT, and by solving this equation we get the value of EBIT as 1,50,000 here. Then we have case 2 where the equity shares are contributing 10 lakh. This is scenario 1, and then 13% preference shares, 50%, that is 5 lakh. Equity share again 50%, that is 5 lakh. Again the left hand portion will remain same, but there is only one difference in right hand side, that we don't have any amount in the form of debt here, so there will be no interest which has to be deducted here. So EBIT minus this tax amount, and after this we have to deduct preference dividend here, which is 65,000. How we have calculated 65,000? It is 13% of 5 lakh, because we have 13% preference share here. Again, by solving this equation, we have to calculate the missing value, which is EBIT, and the EBIT is 2,60,000 in this case. Then we have third scenario, where again equity shares are 6 lakh rupees plus 15% debentures of rupees 5 lakh in case 1. And another combination can be 4 lakh rupees from equity shares, 2 lakh rupees from preference shares, and 4 lakh from debentures. So in this case, what we have to do, out of EBIT we have to deduct interest, because in this case we are raising funds from debt as well. Then we have to deduct the tax amount. The amount has to be divided by number of equity shares in case 1, that is from here to here. And on right hand side we will represent this scenario, this situation. Okay, so EBIT minus 60,000, again minus tax, we have to deduct preference dividend from this. It has to be divided by number of equity shares, and by solving this equation we'll get the value, that is EBIT, which is 2,16,000 in our case. The last case, where we have equity shares of rupees 8 lakh, preference shares of rupees 2 lakh, combination 1, equity shares of rupees 5 lakh, preference shares of rupees 2 lakh, and debentures of rupees 4 lakh. We just need to put these two scenarios in the equation, and we have to equate it. And by solving this equation, again we can calculate our EBIT, and our EBIT is 1,72,000 in this case. So these are 4 different scenarios, 4 different cases, and under each case we have different combinations of financial capital structure that we have. And by equating these 2 scenarios, we can calculate the EBIT, which is our break-even EBIT. And this is how we can calculate the break-even point. That means the minimum amount that we need to earn so that we can pay our fixed charges. So that is all about EBIT EPS analysis from my side. Thank you for the patience hearing. Looking forward to see you in the next session. Till then, happy learning.